Hello, and welcome to the Women's Business Edit. I am your host, Michelle Garner, and I'm here with Kara. She owns this beautiful building we're sitting in on Cora Wellness in downtown Hillsborough, and this is Baxter. So if I get distracted because of the dog, forgive me. He's one of my favorites. He's such a sweetheart. Kara, thanks for meeting with me.
Thanks for having me.
I've met Kara through Washington County Chamber, I think it was. And we kind of built this rapport and it turned into a friendship, which I'm really grateful for. But you specialize in wellness. Can you describe it to me what wellness means to you?
For me, wellness just really means being able to live your life in a way that feels very aligned with your values and in a way that creates space for the things that you enjoy. Wellness isn't completely a I'm happy all the time situation, but it's about capacity. It's about being able to feel that joy. It's also about being able to feel the hard things too. And we really wanted to create a wellness center that really honored and appreciated how multifaceted that experience is. Because it's not just mental health, it's also physical health, it's spiritual health, or energetic health, it's a work-life balance, it's kind of all of it.
Yeah, I think I have forgotten what work-life balance actually is, especially now that we're small business owners. So with wellness in mind, what drew you to this industry? What made you want to create a space like this that really dedicated your energy on making sure people feel good or have the right tools to get through the hard stuff? I mean, that's really got to be a calling. I don't think I've ever had that calling. So bravo to you. But what drew you to it?
Very long story. Essentially, it began with I wanted to be a CPS social.
Okay.
That is what I went to school for. That was my main focus. I was really fortunate to be raised by parents who were amazing people, and they took me and my 3 siblings in. And that experience really helped me see families look different. And I wanted to be kind of part of making sure that kids had a safe place, whatever that family situation looked like. I wanted to make sure it was safe. Life happened. Spoiler alert, I'm a working son. I got a job as a therapist just as kind of I'll just do this for a little bit.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it.
I love that.
The appreciation for people telling their stories, seeing the resilience, and what I found as far as my ideal client population. Oh, sorry, I hit the microphone.
It's okay. We'll edit that.
What I found as far as my ideal client situation is I work with so many people who probably slipped those cracks of CPS. So I like to say that I work with people who had a messed up childhood, but they're totally over it now.
Are you ever really over a messed up childhood?
We create some really wonderful coping skills and strategies, and some of them serve us and some of them don't. But a lot of times we look back and we're like, oh, maybe that's why I approach situations, relationships, work, whatever way that I do.
So through your work, you're able to help people recognize oh, this is why I behave that way, and then give them the tools to cope better or things of that nature. That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And thank you for creating a space like this. If you ever have a chance to just come and see this space for yourself, I highly recommend it. Kara put so much time and energy into every detail in here. I mean, down to the beautiful bright colors that bring you joy, all the plants behind us. It's really just a really amazing, calming space. I've had the pleasure of participating in events here. We've done vision boards here at the beginning of the year or chamber events, and I've always really enjoyed my time here. So definitely make your way down here if you can.
Shameless plug, every first Tuesday of the month is the Hillsborough Art Walk. And we open our doors late from 5 to 8 p.m. We have live local artists. So that would be a great time.
She has had a couple of pieces of art that I wish I could have just taken home with me. I'm like, yes, please.
So you do a fabulous job with that.
Back to wellness, though, was there a moment in your life where it stopped being professional and became personal?
I think that especially for women, when they look at the wellness industry, we kind of tend to see the faults in it a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether doctors not taking us seriously or, only getting us 15 minutes to talk about maybe an issue that's hitting your life in so many different ways. So for me personally, and I live with lupus. But I know how much lupus is exacerbated by stress. We're also recognizing more and more the impacts of trauma on women and how that often leads to autoimmune disorders.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it was a long journey for me to find a rheumatologist who I really enjoyed. Shout out to Dr. Sean McAllister.
Good job, Sean McAllister.
And then the other piece of that is recognizing all of the other things that go into being well, not just if I need it, the medication that he prescribes. But it also taught me a lot about how hard I had to advocate for myself in other realms. So I would occasionally need to see like a cardiologist or a hematologist, and being told like, "Are you sure it's not just anxiety?" Like, yeah. Yes, I have anxiety. It's just I feel like my heart's gonna stop. So, it took a long time for me to be comfortable because we see doctors as these authority figures. And so when I expanded beyond counseling to do multifaceted wellness, I really wanted to try to take that power differential away as much as possible, create an environment where there was actually the space to talk about how the issue you're coming in with is impacting your life. And understanding and appreciating how all of that interplays too. Yes, anxiety does play a role for me. I would be far less anxious if my body didn't hurt all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and pain, it also triggers a lot of stress within your body. Your body is undergoing a lot more at that moment. That's why when you work out and it hurts, your body is telling you, okay, there's something here. Only this is something you can't control. That's gotta be tough. I will say though, advocacy for women, I'm so glad you touched base on that because I think that's something that we as women have to draw more attention to. I went through a huge process, like 6 years of trying to advocate for myself before I found a doctor who listened. Thank you, Dr. Jordan. She is also in Hillsborough and fantastic, who listened to me and heard me when I said, I don't feel right. My body hurts. It feels like I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant. And I actually ended up needing a hysterectomy. And I went through 5 years of doctors telling me, you're fine. It's all in your head. And that is so discouraging, not only as a patient, but as a woman being told what you're feeling in your body, it's all in your head. Do you think that that's a common thread in the medical industry? I know that wellness and doctors and physical therapists, they kind of overlap a little bit, but what's your take on that?
Just in general, because I feel like I could get real ranty on this. We know that most of the medical field is based on the white male, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you want to go really far back, you can look at things like, being blamed for our wandering uterus is the reason why we're in hysterics. That's why it's called hysteria. Hysteria, hysterectomy. So there's always been a lack of understanding about women's wellness because the money isn't being pushed that way. There has been a big change.
Good.
But yeah, if even just looking at something as simple as BMI, which is bullshit. BMI is based on the white male. And so women disproportionately are being told, well, you're unhealthy, you're overweight, you're obese, when it's based on standards that don't really apply to the fact that we have uteruses and different hormones and all of that. Never mind getting into, the intersectionality of different races.
Yeah. And just genetic makeup is different for each of us. I can't tell you. So I am 6 feet tall. I don't know if you can see that. I am 6 feet tall. I take up a lot of space. And most of my life, and I touched base with this last week with Jean, who owns Meraki, that I have been told my entire life, the fitness industry is you are too big. Take up less space, lose more weight. And that is so discouraging because I have a 16-year-old who is also very tall and she is strong and she is like me where we build muscle very easily. And she is also told regularly, because she's a cheerleader, she's also told regularly, lose weight. When do you think there's a good time and how do us as mothers teach our kids to advocate for themselves in a way that is healthy? Because I think, we're going back to this place in society where it's as small as you can be. And that's just not realistic. So how can we as women advocate for ourselves and teach our kids to advocate for themselves in a healthy manner?
Well, I mean, a few disclaimers. Like one, I don't specifically work with kids, despite the fact that I have 5 kids and been parenting forever. I have no idea what I'm doing with.
There's no handbook. There's no handbook.
I would say just that it starts very young. So we really try to emphasize to our kids like that we don't make comments about people's bodies. It's about how your body feels is what's most important. But it's really challenging, and I'm fighting against like my own upbringing, right? Like that clean plate club, and the kids are starving in third world countries,
Yeah.
and not trying recognizing now like all of the studies that show how damaging that is to kids to recognize like, oh no, you have to finish everything. We're going to ignore our body cues and finish everything.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is a like one right thing, but I think starting with a very simple like when did it become okay for people to comment on people's size, shape,
Yeah.
appearance constantly?
And I've always remembered that being a thing where people could just comment, make comments and do whatever. And you were just kind of left in the wake to deal with the damage of, well, does everybody think that? And it's so destructive.
You never know what's going on in someone's lives.
Never,
Right?
never.
You might see someone who's lost a bunch of weight and maybe you're like, oh, good for them. But it could be that they were really ill
Yeah.
or they're struggling mentally and they haven't been able to feed themselves in the way or maybe they're living in poverty. We don't know. So it's really just best if we just, hey, I love your shirt. Those tattoos are amazing.
Well, thank you. No, I will say, since I have met Kara, I have learned a lot about my own self-awareness just through your presence and how you treat people with kindness and how you're very observant to how people are feeling or reacting to a crowd or reacting to a conversation. And I'm really grateful for that. So I just wanted to say thank you. I don't think I've ever told you that you've had that positive impact on me, but you have. And I'm really grateful that you are in my world, and I'm really grateful Hillsborough has a place like this. But now we're going to get into some nitty gritty, the business side of running a wellness center.
Not so keep ranting about things.
We could rant for as long as we want, but I do want to talk about how do you balance your passion with your profession? I think that's something that us as small business owners overlap a lot. I know I do. And sometimes I find it's a struggle to keep passionate about my work because that's what got me to start it, to start the business. But then sometimes along the way, I have found, I don't know if I like this as much, or I'm just having a hard day. How do you balance that in your world? Excuse me.
So one is I do try to keep a balance. I find that the times when I'm like edging closer to burnout is when it's client, billing, marketing, client, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
And what I love about Mancora in this business is that it is part of a community. It's part of a system. Art Walk rejuvenates me every month. And
I talked about that before.
It has almost nothing to do with wellness. Like we know and appreciate the intersection of arts and wellness, but does it bring me any money? Not really. I stay out later and, but seeing the community come in and feeling like I'm a part of the community, I'm not just a client billing, marketing, that really fuels me. And then the other piece is, having conversations about what that like end dream is. And I feel like we've talked about it before, but the long-term goal of Ancora is to have a therapeutic farm. And sometimes I get so caught in the day-to-day of running this business that I forget I should be taking steps towards that, right? Whatever that looks like.
That's true.
So I actually had a really wonderful conversation with my husband on our long drive yesterday. That kind of rejuvenated me and was like, yes, I can go back to work on Monday, because I'm thinking of, I could actually take steps this week towards the Ancora Farms. I don't have to feel like it's a super far out goal. I can do things right now in between the client, billing, marketing thing that reminds me of the dream, right? The dream.
Oh, and also, props to you for thinking outside of the box in not only creating this beautiful wellness center, but say, we're going to take this one step further. We're going to create a farm that also provides these types of services out in nature, which nature is fantastic for your mental health. Whenever I need a rejuvenation moment, I always go outside. That's like my go-to place. So I think that's really fantastic. And I can't wait to see that come to fruition. And if there's anything we can do to help you to get there, we're in. We'll check. So how do it kind of sounds like these really great conversations with your husband and your community rejuvenate you, but how do you, someone who sees clients and helps them through their hard times, protect yourself? Because I would imagine that might take an emotional toll or a mental toll on you. So what do you do to get you through your day?
So a big piece of that for me is boundaries outside of here. I'm a huge fan of asking for emotional consent with conversations. So, as simple as saying like, hey, I need to vent about my day. Are you in a space to do that? And people don't always do that. So sometimes I let them know if they give me a call and they're like, let me bitch about my day. I'm like, hey, actually, I had a really heavy day with clients. And I'm just not as used to that. And then I have some agreements at home too. Like my husband and I don't talk about politics much during the week because I honestly hear about it a lot, I'm sure. A lot. So we keep it pretty light, like Monday through Friday, because it's a full work day and then dinner, baths, getting the kids to bed, and then we have this much time to like attune to each other, take that time for ourselves. And it's like, yeah, let's watch some trash television.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it really light, especially during the week in my off hours. I don't read anything heavy, read a lot of smut.
Smut books are great. They're fantastic. Yep. Well, good. Okay. So boundaries are a big part of your world, both professionally and personally. I need to be better about setting boundaries. I'm not very good at that. That's for another conversation. So, excuse me, challenges and growth. Have you ever, I'm sorry, I'm going to skip that because I feel like we already talked about that. What is the biggest lesson you've learned, not only building Encore Wellness, but the lessons you've learned that you might take with you into creating Encore Farms?
I think the hardest lessons to learn have been around separating the personal from the professional, because when it's your business, it's your baby.
Yes.
Right. And so almost everything feels personal.
Yeah.
And when you have employees that come and go, which are relationships that come and go, especially I consider myself a very loyal person. It's easy to really take that to heart. And that can be a huge factor in burnout as a boss.
Yeah.
So remembering that, this is my baby and I'm going to pour as much as I can into the people that come into contact with Ancora, but recognizing at the end of the day, like there is that separation there.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody is going to care about this baby as much as I do.
That's true.
And I can't really get mad at that.
No. And I think when we go to hire people too, Jackie and I, we need to hire some employees to help us out this summer. And I have to remember that in those conversations too. So I'm glad you brought that up, because as business owners, we are 150% invested into whatever business you're creating and whatever, I want to say legacy, because at some point we're creating something from nothing and building this thing, a business is, to me, like a living being in and of itself, right? It needs dedication. It needs all of these things. And so nobody's going to feed it the same way we are going to feed it. But I will say, when I'm interviewing or talking to people about it, I sometimes lose sight that they're not going to feel the same way about this business as I do. What do you do to remind yourself of that? Because I struggle with that. I struggle to say, yeah, well, they've meant that or they did that, but they don't view this the same way I view it. What do you do to kind of keep yourself in that mindset? Because this is a conversation I've had with a couple of our local business owners who have employees or need to hire.
I remind myself that a lot of the decisions I make in the business and in my day to day are for the good of my family, right? I'm the breadwinner. At the end of the day, the business, this baby, has to make sense for my family. And at a point where it stops making sense, then I need to change something. And my staff are the same way, and I have amazing staff. Uh, at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you and yours. And sometimes it's going to mean that Cora is in alignment with that, and sometimes it's not going to.
Yeah.
And so separating that emotion piece out, like, they're not maybe leaving and doing it to me.
Yeah. Although sometimes it feels that way.
People leave because it's what their family needs.
That's true. That's a great
And it's
point.
probably a decision I would make too if I was in the same position.
And you put it that way.
Yeah. I think the biggest struggle I have is that I am a really small business, right? So I will never be able to compete with some of the larger health organizations. So if that works for them, kudos to them.
Yeah.
I'm basically unemployable at this point, so I can't go work for True.
I feel like that's kind of where I'm at too. So I have a really big background in operations and finance and the corporate realm, right? And I am finishing my MBA. Even with all of that, I feel like I cannot, and I've looked, don't get me wrong. Don't let me ever fool anybody if you ever see me say like, no, this is it for me. There are moments when I'm like, forget it. I'm selling it. I'm going back to corporate because that's the easy thing to do. So in those moments, I have looked at potential positions and I've never found anything that fits me. And so I have to kind of take that as a sign from the universe. It's like, well, it's because that's not where you're meant to be. You're meant to be here. And so I relate to that statement of, I feel like I'm unemployable now because we've been doing this thing and setting our own rules and doing the things that matter more to our family as a benefit of starting a small business. And there are a lot of benefits to starting small businesses. There's also a lot of work that goes into each one of them, whether it be running a wellness center or a lounge or a gym or a gift store. The work is different, but it all entails a lot of it. And I think us as women now more than ever are called to be leaders. And that's really important in our journey as business owners. And as women, we do not get enough. What do you think are your biggest strengths as a leader, as a woman in this industry, as building this space and really making a name for yourself in the wellness industry? What traits as a leader do you really fall back on to help you get there?
I think it's a mixture of my presence as a woman as well as my presence as a social worker. I don't just look at a problem and say, like, how do I fix it? I want to look at the context in which it exists, right? So whether I'm approaching a client or the organization as a whole or Cora's existence in larger organizations like Chamber or downtown for partnership, recognizing that there's not just one quick fix for anything, right? And I think that really translates into leadership because it's not a just do this, right?
Yeah.
It's a, hey, let's look at it. Let's get different points of views. Let's talk about the resources as well as what's working against us here. And sometimes the issue is bigger than what we can really tackle. So we have to look at, all right, when can we ask for help? And asking for help is not something that we maybe necessarily see leaders do a lot. But
yeah, I think we have a predisposition to think that leaders have all the answers, and we do not. We do not. What advice would you give to a young woman who walked into your door and said, I want to create a space in the wellness industry? What advice would you give her? And it can't be have a Baxter. Have a Baxter.
Hey, bud. I think it comes back to authenticity and values. So the times where I have felt kind of most out of alignment and thinking about like maybe I'll just go work for one of those big organizations are when I'm not leading as myself. Okay. I love that I have been able to be authentic and be me. And with that, the right clients come to me, the right employees come to me, the right partnerships come to me.
Yeah.
If I'm pretending to be somebody else, it's one going to be exhausting. It's not sustainable. And then you're not leading with your values and your true self anymore.
Yeah.
And so long as you have that to fall back on, that is a strong foundation.
I love that. I really love that. And being authentic and being who we are and not fitting someone else's mold is a really hard thing to do because from a young age, we are told, do this, be this, don't do this, don't be too harsh, don't be too loud, don't be all the things, or yes, be this, be this, be this. And so for people and women like us to say, no, I'm not going to fit your mold. I'm going to be authentic to myself. And then it be the most positive thing that has happened to us and the most driving force in our world, I think is so understated. You and I are really lucky in the fact that our group overlaps a lot. And I was mentioning this to Jean too, like finding your people. That was her advice, was like, find your core people. And I think it's 100% true. But the women that we surround ourselves with, and the woman I surround myself with, I'm really grateful and fortunate for you and Jean and Heather and so many others who are authentic and who do want to break those barriers and break those molds, not for any other reason except to be who they're meant to be. I'm really glad that you are one of those people who can do that because you set an example for so many people around you, whether you recognize it or not. People watch you and take note. And so with that, I also think is excitement because we've now shifted and maybe this is age. I don't know. I don't know. Excuse me. Maybe it's shifted where I just don't give a shit. Like I just don't give a shit. If you don't like me, okay. I'm fine with that. I've got my people. I like my crew. And that's not to say that I don't welcome new people. But if you're going to be in my world, then you need to be authentic. You need to be a good human being. You need to have values that align with my values. And you need to be someone who is inherently good, right? Like I think as we get older, I know for me, this is my experience, is I used to like overlook all the things that I didn't like about someone, even though my inner Michelle was screaming, saying, this person is not right for you, whether it be a friend or business relationship or whatever. And now I tend to listen to her, my gut instinct more. And I've never been happier because now I have the people in my world that are meant to be there. I'm on a path that I'm meant to be on. And so I think that all wraps up into being authentic and being genuine to who you are. So I'm glad that you touched base on that. Can we just take a side turn real quick and talk about Baxter? Because he's fantastic. I'm sure you all are wondering why Baxter is here. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. He snuggles a lot. But why is Baxter here at Ancora Wellness? What does he do?
So we do a variety of different therapy modalities here. So animal assisted therapy is one of them. And when the farm comes, we're also going to have baby goats and alpacas. So animal assisted therapy is one. We do walk and talks. I've done ecotherapy before.
One second. Yeah, it's fine. We'll edit.
Thank you.
Woo!
We like honey.
Baxter is here because he's a working dog, but he's also here because he's my best friend.
That's why we get along so well. We're very, very big dog people and the animal people.
And the clients love him. It's a really wonderful, like we have fidgets in the office. So just having an animal around can be a really grounding experience. And he's also really good at, you can make reflections like, why do you think Baxter got up just then? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I was getting kind of like worked up. And so Baxter was like kind of needed some space to like regulate himself. Can we take a minute to regulate ourselves? Just like Baxter's doing.
Wow.
Sometimes externalizing the process for people can be really helpful because it's sometimes hard to do that look within thing. Anyway, so he's amazing. Yeah. And just part of kind of the understanding that therapy doesn't just have to be sitting on a couch.
I like that. I like that. Again, if you come and visit, make sure you get to meet Baxter because he's fantastic. Now, I am 100% self-admittedly, like if there's a dog, I'd rather be around the dog than the human. This is no reflection of you. This is just my life. Baxter, so I have a German Shepherd at home, and we also have a Bernese Lungato mix at home. And both of them are our dogs. But Baxter, outside of that, is probably one of my favorite friends that I get to meet out on the street of Hillsborough. So hopefully you get to run into him at some point because he's pretty amazing. He's very calming and sweet and just all the things that a pup should be. Um, but anyway, okay, thank you for the side turn because you know me and dogs anyway. He's like, I'm out over here. Long term, outside of Cora Farms, where do you see yourself? Where do you see your journey going? And it doesn't have to be on Cora Wellness. Like, where do you see yourself?
We talk about that a lot, right?
Yes.
When you're in the trenches of all of the things like working and growing a business and making it profitable and raising children, again, it can get really hard to think about that like that long-term thing. But ultimately, our goal is just to raise good humans and hopefully in a way that is safe, right? Like there's a lot happening right now. So longer term, I'd really like to get back to being a little bit more on my farm, right?
Yeah.
So there's Ancora Farms and then there's the farm. But I really want to get back to a place where I'm a little bit more out of the grind of starting a business and love to get back to traveling.
Yeah.
Have a little bit more space for enjoying the fruits.
And well deserved fruits, I will say. So if you could pack up your bags right now, where would you go?
My brother was just talking about his month-long trip to Spain.
Oh, I feel zero empathy and pity for him. Zero.
So Spain is currently on my mind. I would love to go to Italy.
Oh yeah, I've heard amazing things about Italy. Greece is on our to do.
But I mean, I would be happy right now just to go up to Alaska.
Yeah.
We were talking about your Alaska.
Oh yeah. So we took a cruise in September and a 10 out of 10 would recommend. I mean, when you are on the cruise ship and you're coming into port, the water is this indescribable crystal clear green. And it is so beautiful. I mean, got to see a glacier, which was not anything like I expected, but it was still magnificent nonetheless. It's beautiful. It really is. And all the you could see all the wildlife. It's just a whole nother experience up there. So yeah, I would definitely recommend going there. If I had to pack my bags today and just get on a plane and I was given like 2 minutes to figure it out, I would either say the UK or Greece. Those would be my two first go-tos. You know, I've always wanted to go, I've always wanted to go to the UK. And I think this stems from an experience I had with my dad. When I was 16, we almost moved there, him and I, for like a year, and then it fell through. So we didn't end up going. And so ever since then, I'm like, I want to go there. And I think that's probably why, you know, but I would definitely go to one of those two places for sure. So what's next for Kara and on Core Wellness?
Well, I'm in the process of hiring again, continuing to grow my team, right?
Okay.
And that's a constant process, right? Because you want the team to feel really cohesive. In good organizations, it's my belief that you're always working on team culture.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm really getting back to like, okay, we need to grow, but it also needs to be the right fit. And we need to kind of figure out how to come together, which can be really hard when you have people who are like hybrid or virtual or a mixture of folks. So it's probably first and foremost is just bringing on more people. And then my goal too is to just see what this next year was. There's been a lot of changes in healthcare over the last year. And I'm really proud to have weathered that and still be standing.
Yeah.
A lot of mental health practices didn't make it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's unfortunate.
So just kind of seeing what comes next and being a little bit more creative about how to bring in different streams of income so that there's not as much pressure on just like clients, right?
Yeah.
You know, because there are other ways to be involved in the community, other ways to make money. I am doing a collaboration with a Heather from Willow Nash.
Great.
Stuff is going to come pretty soon.
Oh, exciting.
Mhm.
She has not said anything, so I'm in the dark too.
Oh, that's great.
So it's going to be fantastic.
I love that. So the different revenue streams, Jackie and I were just talking about that too, because we have so much pressure on bottle sales. And now that we've opened the lounge, having events and getting people in there. But I think that's really smart of you to think outside of just this box to help not only promote your business and grow your business, but take off some stress. So I love that you're collaborating with other local businesses. If you don't remember, go back to I believe it's episode 2, where we sit down and talk with Heather, who's the owner of Willow and Ash, who is a gift store here in Hillsborough and Forest Grove. So I'm excited to see what kind of collaboration you guys come up with. That'll be exciting. So good job for that. We're kind of in that same boat. Like, what can we do not only to bring more awareness to Urban River, but also take off so much stress of, the day in, the day out, of the monotony of just, running a business, because sometimes it feels the same type of monotony as going to a 9 to 5. And I think a lot of people don't see that part of running a business. I love those memes where it's like people think the business owner comes in with like the coffee and just like all ready to go. So not true. And they really come like stumbling in with all the boxes and the things. And I think that's probably more accurate. So taking off some stress is a pretty great next step. If you had anything else that you would do with your world outside of Encore, what do you think you would have done instead of starting a wellness center?
I think we're here.
Yeah. I know it's weird to think about, right? But what else would you do?
Well, I did have another business for a while.
Okay.
So I did mental health consulting for kind of the legal field.
Okay.
So I did that when Ankara was kind of stabilized and we were kind of just doing counseling. So I kind of leaned into that for a while. So I did. And that was really fun. I do really still love the legal field and I love advocating for client rights, particularly on the mental health side of things. Maybe it would have gone that direction a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe I would have ended up in CPS. I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to think like, what would I do instead of? But that's always a question that pops into my head. What would I be doing instead of this?
I feel like it was inevitable, right? Because when you've got that entrepreneur bug, whatever it is,
Yeah.
or ADHD,
Whichever one you fall onto.
So for me, like I saw the system that I was working in, which was a mental health system, and I decided like I could do that better. And I think that's the thing that caused me to fall into that is I couldn't quiet that part down. And so I could have raised in the brakes and maybe tried to create change from within, but then it would still be somebody else's thing. And I'd probably have to give up on some things I was advocating for. Right?
Yeah.
Because it was not. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to imagine like how would I have calmed that down to not do this?
I will say I've had that. I know exactly what you're talking about because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had no idea what I wanted to do until a random day. I was like, oh, I could make something of this. But that voice, that little like nagging, and I don't know how else to describe it outside of nagging voice here in the back of your ear that's like, is this really it? Is this really what you want to do? It's not yours. It never went away. Never, not one time. Through all the years of climbing the corporate ladder and doing all the things I thought I was supposed to do, it was always here. And I think as women, we should listen to that more because we have this really great gift of intuition.
Mm-hmm.
We should use it. And I just think that if you're called to do something, listen to it the first time. But I guess we all have a path.
It's also a privilege to be able to do this too.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So,
fair.
I was very lucky to be able to take this leap. I had the financial means and the husband to support me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm really happy that you are here and I'm really happy that this has worked out and I can't wait to see Encore Farms. You deserve all of it. You are an amazing human being. If you have a chance to come down here and talk with Kara, I really recommend you do. She is such a calming force in so many of our worlds, and she brings a lot of joy to the downtown Hillsborough area. And I just can't get enough of her. So come down, visit Ancora. Tuesday is Art Walk, so that's a great time to come and meet you if anybody wants to meet you or see what the Wellness Center is about. We offer a range of services, not just therapeutic services, but I think you also have massage. Do you have massage?
We have naturopathic care and nutrition.
And nutrition. So will massage ever happen?
I really want it to happen.
I mean, I'd be all for that.
Yeah.
Especially because you're just right there. You just walk right over here.
Love it.
And then you can also meet Baxter, who is like the star of the show. But thank you so much for meeting with me, talking about wellness, talking about women's advocacy, and Cora's next steps. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me anytime. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us on the Women's Business Edit. Bye.
Where are we going?
What's up, dude? All right.